Awesome. Welcome to Deadly Dioramas and Fun with Miniatures. My name is Megan, and I'm going to be teaching you today how to take these adorable little miniatures that Michael sells and turn them into beautiful dioramas. So we do have pumpkins at Michael's that already have the hole cut out to make these dioramas and to make these scenes. So they're very easy to kind of play with. So have fun with these. They come in orange, they come in black. You could potentially make some other colors by painting the outside too, so keep that in mind. That when you get them, they come painted or they're not painted inside. So what I'm going to do in the class today is I'm going to show you step by step how to make the guy in the bathtub. That was the picture, the main picture for this class. So he's just kind of chilling, has his little portraits, has his little rose in his bathtub with him. So we're going to make him from start to finish, but then we're also going to go back and I have a couple of empty pumpkins and we're definitely going to play around with all the different miniatures. So let's go ahead and switch over to my other camera and let me show you some of the fun things I've been playing with. So here is another diorama pumpkin. This one is an orange one. And I used some green like moss or some green kind of faux greenery. So we have so many different options of things to play with. And then I love, love, love this adorable little doggy who is ready to go trick-or-treating with his little bag and the ghost dog. Those ghost dog things make me laugh and make me smile every single time. So I am so glad. There's a little pumpkin patch miniature up here. And what's cool about this miniature is it actually lights up. So this one has a switch at the bottom and it lights up so you can have a little bit more light inside your diorama. With that one, we have this cute little rocking chair, and then I have a little Christmas tree in the spirit of Halloween over here in the corner. So these are so cute. So miniatures are kind of going to be what you prefer and what you like. So we'll kind of send you a link that kind of sends you to the place that Michael's has a lot of different choices of miniatures. But like I was telling you today, we are going to focus on making this particular diorama. And I'm going to show you some of the skills that go along with making this one and adding in some different hanging features and things like that too. So keep that in mind. But if that's not your aesthetic, we have witches, we have not so spooky ghosts. We have so many different miniatures and so many different fun things to play with. So please feel free to go to Learn with Michael's, which is the Instagram for Michael's classes. And you can see some of the different diorama pumpkins that I've already kind of created using some of these different miniatures. Just give yourself an inspiration of what direction you want to kind of go in. And then you can use this class and later on this video when it goes to YouTube to kind of go back and figure out some of the details of how to kind of set it up and how to make it work for you. So, with this particular pumpkin, I painted the inside of the pumpkin like a light purple. I'm not going to go ahead and do that in class right now because I want to make sure that we have enough time to be able to put all of the things in it. So I'm going to use a background with my diorama pumpkin where it's just going to be black. So here's the pumpkin I'm going to be working on today, and I'm going to put this example off to the side. So this is how the pumpkins come. They come black on the inside still. And so I can go through with just some craft paint. If you want it to make the inside teal, if you want it to make the inside orange, if you wanted to paint the inside white, like I painted this orange one with the inside white, just do a layer, maybe even 2 layers of craft paint to kind of give you a really nice base. Now, if you don't have paint or you don't have time for it to dry or you don't want to paint, you have lots of other options. You can just be silly and put in paper towel. I just had a paper towel, put it in there and kind of give yourself a backdrop. You can crunch up some different typing paper or computer paper. I used construction paper in a couple of them. You can also take fabric. So if you have any Michael's fabric laying around, like this black and white stripe I used for a different project, you can put some of that black and white fabric in there. And then we can just go ahead and take our hot glue gun and place that in there so that we are able to get a good backdrop for whatever our pumpkin is. Cardstock, absolutely. I also use a lot of cobwebbing, so the cobwebs can give you a really good spot for that too. So if you're not painting in the backdrop, you might want to put something. So I think since I'm not going to paint the inside purple, I am going to go ahead and start with some cobwebs. So I have my hot glue gun warming up, and I have some spider webbing from Ashland, which is at Michael's. And I'm going to take apart a little bit of the spider webbing, and I might need to cut it with a pair of scissors. So I hope I have some scissors handy. You can also use some tulle, you can use burlap, you can use paper, like I said before. I've also used a lot of this moss before, so you can kind of give yourself a backdrop with this moss. This moss actually, because it is that same purple we're kind of going for, might be fun to decorate the inside with and give us a little bit more color. I am going to take some white paper, and I've just crinkled up a piece of white paper, and I'm putting it back here just to give me that bright kind of backdrop. And you want to work with your pumpkin at eye level, because there's obviously a lot to see at the top that you might not be able to see if you're looking at it from a different angle. So you want to make sure that you can cover more of that spot. So I'm going to go ahead and use some of the paper, and I'm going to use some of the webbing, and I am going to start covering the inside of this pumpkin. But again, you can do this by doing some painting as well.
Hey, Megan, just really quick.
Sure.
There's just some dialogue going on about the pumpkin color on the outside.
Yes.
Would you suggest them using acrylic paint on the outside if they chose to paint a different color?
Yes. So any of the craft paints that are going to work for the inside are also going to work really nicely for the outside. Another fun idea coming up soon, we have a paint pouring class where we're going to be paint pouring pumpkins. So you can always do some fluid art on the outside of your pumpkin and kind of have that paint pouring look to it. But yes, any kind of Artist Loft acrylic paint or any of these Craft Smart craft paints are perfect and will cover very nicely in your pumpkin. So all of this right now is just giving me a good way for you to kind of be able to see what I'm doing and keep some lightness in there, but also to give me a fun backdrop. So I'm just putting dabs of glue in different places. And what's nice about my hot glue is that I can still kind of rip it off and move it around if I'm not quite happy with where I put it. But this is a really fun, just dig in and be creative and be crafty kind of situation where I started making, I know when I was younger, I used to take like empty cereal boxes and turn them into like little Barbie tables and things like that. So I've been playing around with different construction paper to kind of give me some different levels, because I also like it in the pumpkin when there's a scene going on and you don't want it all to be flat or all be one-dimensional. You might want some elements hanging, like the pumpkin we're making has these portraits that are hanging just to give it another layer. Or you might need to make like some grass and some sky in order to kind of give yourself some places to play with. So let me get a little bit more hot glue on a little bit more paper. And I'm going to put it in here. And just with this paper backdrop, I'm already giving myself a really cool scene. Go towards the top. And I'm just crinkling up this paper and then going up to the top with a little bit of hot glue. And giving that nice contrast from the black pumpkin that it was. So this is looking pretty good. I think I need a little bit more to cover up over here, maybe some glue in there. You're in this pumpkin with me. We are in this journey all the way in. All right, a little bit more. Right here is going to be good. And right now, because I'm using paper, I'm using a low temperature on my hot glue gun. If it's something else where I need a high temperature, I can always switch, or I have a hot glue gun that can do both. So that's nice too. All right. All right, I think I'm ready. And then the rest of the background is going to be some different cobwebs and things like that, like in this bathtub scene over here. So another thing that we want to do is we want to be able to drill some holes at the top of our pumpkin in order for us to be able to hang some wire. So I suggested a hand drill. And these hand drills are sold at Michael's in the craft section where resin craft happens. And they're really easy. They already have this great spiral. So all I need to do is poke it into the pumpkin and kind of twist it. And it goes through very easily. So it's just twisting and getting those pokes. And you'll see the little pokes on the top of my pumpkin, but I can cover them up with paint, or in this particular case, I'm going to cover them up with all of this decorative glass at the top. So you're not going to be able to see those holes. Now, because I did poke with, have paper on the top, I need to make sure that I go through my paper too when I'm ready to do some wire. So I suggested a clear wire. I'm going to show you using this brown wire just so that you can see it. Otherwise, I think it's going to be too hard to be able to see in the video what I'm doing. But what I'm doing with this wire is exactly what you're going to be doing with the clear wire. I'm going to cut a couple inches. I think this is about 5 inches of this wire. And I am going to stick it through the hole. And remember that I have the paper. So I'll need to move the paper or poke around or poke through that paper. And you can kind of see my brown wire dangling in here. This is what I'm going to use to attach one of the paintings. So if you have these two paintings, I have a guy wearing a top hat, and I also have another one of the paintings with the lady with roses. So I'm going to hang both of those by taking the wire through the portrait and then doubling up the wire and going back through the hole in the top of my pumpkin. Got to go through my paper too. So if you were to paint this, you don't want to start decorating the inside until probably a good 30 minutes. I'd leave it to dry before you start doing anything else. And then I'm going to get this wire back through where my other wire is. Switch hands. And I can always make this hole wider if that's part of what's going on here, but I'm just looking at this from a weird angle, which I think is why I'm having a harder time. There I go. I just needed to look at it from a different angle. And then you can decide where in the pumpkin you would like this painting to hang. And you can tell that I'm hanging onto both of these wires at the top. I might give these wires a little bit of a twist to keep it at this height. And then we are going to hot glue these wires down when we're satisfied that that's where we want it to be. And we are going to cover them with some glass at the end too. So far we have this spooky pink portrait hanging, and we can do the same thing on the other side. So once you have the hole with the drill in the top of your pumpkin, you're going to cut a little bit more wire and use the clear wire because then you won't be able to see it. I'm using the brown just so that you can see it on the video that we're making right now. And I'm going to fold this in half and put the portrait onto this wire. Yes, so someone is suggesting some 3D stickers. Absolutely, there are some really cool ones that look like kind of like science experiments that Michael's is selling that you can definitely use. You can also make your own. Might need to Pop my pumpkin in a different direction so I can see the hole again. There we go. And I got both of these up. So then I want to make sure that they're hanging in the right direction. And I want to probably match the height the same on both sides. So when I'm satisfied with where those are hanging, I'm going to give this a twist again. And then I'm going to bend these wires down. And I can cut those wires shorter if I want to also. But I think these are hanging in a pretty good spot. Now we have some space to fill back here. So we can make some cobwebs and we can actually move the portraits a little bit back into the foreground if we want to, or into the background. And then we definitely want to add our bathing beauty. So this is probably one of my favorite miniatures. This guy in the bathtub just chilling and hanging out. So if you have this particular miniature, this is gonna be the spotlight of this particular piece. So there are so many funny miniatures that we have, and this guy is just literally chilling in a bathtub with a rose. So he is going to go in here, but I'm going to give him a little bit of height by adding some of this black decorative filler. So I'm going to take this black decorative filler and I am going to put it into the bottom of the pumpkin, probably a couple handfuls at a time. And I'm definitely working over a surface that I know I can clean up afterwards because between all these rocks and spider webs and any fake grass and moss I might be using, I know myself and I know I'm probably going to make a mess. So I'm going to spread this out to give him kind of his bath time gravel. It's like bath salt's gone terribly wrong on the bottom of his pumpkin. But he is just relaxing, not having any problems in the world. And then this gives me some ability to kind of sculpt where I want him to be. So since this gravel is very movable, I can decide how deep in, or if I want him to be higher. I can also move these portraits around so that they're not invading his space while he's trying to be. So I have a little bit of the cobweb. That was also suggested on your list for today. So I'm going to cut off just a piece of that, and then we can spread it and work with that cobweb in the background with our paper that's already up. So here's this cobweb I'm working with. Just cut off a small piece, and it can really do a lot of stretching because I think this is an outdoor spiderweb decoration. So it's definitely meant to get very, very large. So feel free to just take a little bit and really work with it and spread it out in lots of ways. And then I'm going to start putting little dots of hot glue onto my spider web and attaching it to my pumpkin. And I'm going to go towards the back of my pumpkin. Glue. And this to the back of my pumpkin to give it some of that depth. Ooh. And then I'll spread some of that off to the side. Get a dot of hot glue over here. Not all the way to the side if I want. Now with my portraits, I do want them to kind of back up into the spider web. So I can kind of find a placement I want for them and use a little bit of hot glue to help me. And then when I have them in the right place, I'm going to hot glue the top too, so that it doesn't fall out like it just did. I'm poking the wires through this hole one more time. It's that one, so I need them both to go through. You can see the inside of my pumpkin. You can do it. So if you have questions for me, let me know in the chat. This video will be available on YouTube tomorrow. And then you can watch this again and kind of, if you get stuck on one of these parts with like the drill or anything like that, you can kind of see what I'm doing and be able to try and watch that again. I'm folding this over so it's not going to fall in this time. So I made myself kind of like an extra little loop of wire so that it's not going to fall in. And then I'm going to push the portraits back and I'm going to put a dab of hot glue on the back of the portraits to hold those more towards the side or the back of the pumpkin. Maybe on the side, a little bit of glue on the side to kind of get it to the side of the pumpkin. But if you want these to dangle, if you don't want them to be staying in one place, you don't have to add that little bit of hot glue I just did on the side. And you can kind of let them swing and let them move. But I kind of wanted him to have a place over there. Looks like I need a little bit more hot glue on my paper too. Keep all of that in place over here. Oh, so it looks like somebody's thinking ahead to Christmas and wants to do another class with miniatures. I am all about that. So I would love to do that. If you're interested, let me know. So the question is, do you leave the rocks loose on the bottom? And absolutely, yes, I do. You can also add a layer of glue and have some of them kept in one place. But I like them to be loose because I do kind of like to move the scene around a little bit. And I don't necessarily need anything glued down there. Yes, we have beautiful glass cloches that you can use all your miniatures and kind of do different scenes. We also have at Michael's for Halloween, like a little cemetery scene. So if you're not into the like putting inside of a diorama, there's some open air ones that are just like little rectangles that are little cemeteries that you can kind of take your time with, and you can make those into cute little miniature scenes too. And if anybody is into Limax, those are like the little miniature villages that come out for Christmas. We also have Limax for Halloween. So you can have a little Halloween town and you can have lots of different things going on in your Halloween town. And then you can play along and add some of these miniature things to those miniature collections. So you can have a little bit of handmade and a little bit of store-bought and have your perfect collection. I'm going to use a little bit more hot glue on the top to get her to stay. And I might need to get the paper more attached also. What's nice about Halloween and hot glue is that any extra little spidery pieces of hot glue can just be decoration, because they're spider webs or they're something else that's just kind of hanging out in our scene. So if you want to add more spider web, you can. If you want to spread more of this out, you can. I should hold her a little bit longer so she sets. And I'm just keeping her on the side over here. We are going to go to the top and we're going to do a little bit more with the purple rocks on the top. And so if you choose to do that kind of thing with your rocks on the base too, you'll kind of get an idea for how I'm going to do that. So here's some more spider web. We're ready for him to get back into his tub. And so now with those portraits kind of off to the side, you can kind of see him better. You can raise him up. And this lady can stay over here with her glue. I can go ahead and keep adding to the top with maybe some more spider web so that I can cover up this black space that I see. So make sure that you kind of go around and look at your pumpkin from different angles. It's also very helpful to take pictures of your pumpkin and step away from it so you can kind of see what other people are seeing when they look at it, and if you might happen to be missing anything. And I'm trying to be careful with my hot glue and spider web because you can imagine that could become a hazard for my fingers. Maybe a little bit more hot glue up here. And I sometimes like to use like a pencil or a craft stick or something to push it into the glue so that I don't hurt my fingers. But that's giving me a lot more coverage on the top that I didn't have before. So you can kind of see what's going on here with this very dreamy spider web scene of him chilling in the bathtub. Pull off some of these. And then I'm going to keep going. It looks like I have a little bit more of a spot back there. Let's see, where is it? I think right about here. So I'll put some hot glue up on the top of the pumpkin there. And I'll add this piece of webbing. Oops, sorry, up here. Up close and personal with the pumpkin. And I can play around with this and make sure that I get full coverage when I'm kind of seeing it from some different angles. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and go on to the top of the pumpkin. And we have these wire pieces on the top of the pumpkin that you're definitely going to want to cover and make sure that you're hiding those. So I am going to use some of the purple glass kind of pieces that are going to go onto the top. And it's kind of like a glitter-like situation where I'm going to be doing a little bit of glue and then adding the rocks. And I'm going to kind of follow the grooves of the pumpkin. So my first bit of hot glue is covering up that wire. And I'm going to take some of the purple rocks, and I am going to make a mess, and I know that. And I'm going to kind of cover that like how you would with glitter. You can still see what I'm doing okay. And I'm going to turn this, and I'm going to let some of the hot glue drip down another one of these parts of the pumpkin, maybe a little bit further this time with my string. And then I'm going to put some rocks down it and let whatever catches catch and kind of let them fall where they will. And if you need to go back and add more glue so that you can have more color, you can do that. And I'm going to end up going around the pumpkin. And I do want to kind of include the stem portion at the top. I'm just letting them fall down. And I am collecting them onto a big paper on my desk so I can keep reusing. I can touch it, but I'm just trying to not burn myself. But if you want to be more exact and you don't want to make a giant mess, I understand that. And you can go in between. You don't have to just follow these lines. You can obviously go in between. You can make some of them thicker. So I'm going to make this one on purpose thicker than some of the other ones so that even more rocks are going to stick to this one. I'm still using my low temperature hot glue because I'm being especially careful with my fingers. And this is looking really good. So I'm going to try another one of those kind of wide bands of hot glue. So you can imagine that I could have done this on the bottom of my pumpkin as well, where the bathtub is sitting, but I chose not to glue any of that down and leave that kind of loose. But if you want to put glue down onto the bottom of the pumpkin and make sure that some of it stays exactly where you are, where it is, that's always a good idea too. If your pumpkin is going to get moved around a little bit, it might be better to not have to clean up those rocks if somebody happens to move your pumpkin. So I'm letting this hot glue kind of drip down. And I'm adding more of those rocks. So someone's asking about Elmer's glue. I don't think that Elmer's glue is going to hold these pieces. I think you would have to keep them in place. I think it's the hot glue that's really going to catch these ones. So I do recommend that. but try it. Let me know. I could be wrong.
Just a real quick side note.
Sure.
If someone is willing to take the time, you can always Mod Podge it and
Yes.
it will catch,
Oh,
excuse me, it'll catch the glass.
yeah,
And then, of course, you would use the Mod Podge again to make sure that it is sealed in. But if you just want a quick, fast, and hurry, definitely use hot glue.
exactly. Good suggestions. So yeah, even with my hot glue, as an on top of this, in order to kind of help it stay sealed and help them stay and keep from continually rubbing off, that Mod Podge at the top would be a great idea. So thanks, Felicia. I'm going to do a couple more pieces up here. And then we're going to see what other finishing touches we might need. So I'm always making sure that I cover the wire. So this is where the wire is right here on this side of the pumpkin. And I'm making sure that I cover that because that's the whole point of the rocks on the top, besides the extra color, is to hide any of those imperfections from having the wire. You can kind of see the top. And I can go as close to the opening. I can even go into the opening if I want to. Over here, I'm going to add a little bit more. And this part is just fun. I'm having a good time. Hope you are too. So if you are able to make any dioramas today or any of the days in the future, please tag us at Learn with Michaels and show us your creations so we can all kind of be inspired by your work too. And I would love to see how you have styled your miniatures and what kind of scenes you have come up with. But we are just about finished with this particular diorama, this deadly bath time scene. So feel free to keep playing around with your background and make it the way that you want it to be. I like the portraits kind of off to the side so that he can kind of be the main focus right here in the middle. And you can tell that this one's a little bit different because we have the portraits still hanging. They're not attached to the wall. So when you move it around, it does kind of give it a little bit more wiggle. And you can see the big difference between the purple background and the white background. So it really is your preference. But if you start with a painted inside, I think it's going to give you a much more polished kind of look than a little bit of the hodgepodge we did with the paper. But the paper is also good and also able to make a cool scene. So keep that in mind. So that's what we have for our first deadly diorama, but now we have so many fun miniatures that I can't resist kind of putting together a new scene for you. So I have lots of different options, and I'm going to kind of show you some of the miniature options and then let the people who are live with me today kind of help me decide. So we have our 3 witches. And what I like doing with the 3 witches, if you saw on my Instagram or the Learn with Michael's Instagram, you might see I used some polyfill, which kind of gave them this spooky vibe of like all smoke kind of in the background of them, which I really think is fun. We also have these more kid-friendly kind of ghosts, which aren't super, super scary. So I like these 3 little guys wearing the witch hats. We can also have some fairy scenes. So kind of the influence from a lot of our miniatures was how popular those fairy houses were. So maybe you just need some sunflowers and some little fairies to kind of bring in the fall feel. This one is just sitting here looking cute with that beautiful flower behind him. I also have a wolf. All of these are available at Michael's. I have some cool furniture to play around with. So a nice fireplace. I got a couple of different options for tables. So this table is kind of a witching table with a skull and with some books and brooms. We got like a tarot card kind of fortune teller like table. And then some of these different tables have chairs to go with them as well, which are super stinking cute. This one's giving me kind of Golden Girls vibes with the wicker chair. And I love that. We also have like these adorable little, it's almost like a Ouija board. It comes with a little triangle that you can kind of move around on the board. So it's just a little bit interactive and kind of fun with that. So let me know which ones of these you want me to kind of work with. Do you want a witchy vibe? Do you want a fun fall vibe? What would you like to see? I'm pulling out some other things to show you while you kind of decide which direction you want me to go into. I love this miniature. This is from what we call our White Witch collection. So you might see these paintings. Yes, this one, right? Okay, this might be like the focal point of my next one, I think. So I love this, and I love that they made it into a miniature, and then you can kind of match it by having the painting behind it on the mantle with this pumpkin. So I love that. There's also these really adorable little chairs, sorry, that have these cute skulls in them too, so that you can almost have like a little deadly tea party if you want to see a deadly tea party happen. So let me take all my toys and put them to the side. And then I'll show you kind of on this next one, how to work with some different levels. Okay, so lots of options. If you have any little tiny boxes, you can easily just put one of these little boxes in here. Another thing I've used is like rolls of masking tape, especially if it's an empty roll, or the tops of things from ribbons. If you have any styrofoam, you can use styrofoam. But basically, we want to try and give ourselves a level because there's a lot of pumpkin to play with. But once you sit a miniature down, then there's nowhere else to put one. So you want to make or create a couple of different levels. Now, if you don't have any of these little boxes or you don't have anything like that, let me show you what you could potentially do with just a little piece of cardstock or a little piece of cardboard. So I have, let me move this to the side, this little piece of cardstock or cardboard. I'm going to fold it in half and I'm going to cut it down and make a longer rectangle. Let me find my scissors. Oh yeah, like if you have a paper towel tube, this could make like a cool table inside of your diorama too. So really any little things that you can find, I think would be really fun. I'm going to cut this down. And then what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to fold the two sides towards the center. I call this a burrito fold when I'm trying to fold something into thirds. So I have 1, 2, 3 levels. And when I get them about at thirds, then I press them down. So what I just did was kind of made a mini stand out of cardboard. So this can give me some height. You might need to put something else underneath it to support it, but that honestly might be enough to give you a level to put some things on. So you can put it in here. Now, if you don't want it to be brown, you can cover it with grass, you can cover it with moss, you can cover it with lots of different things. You could also paint it. So that's an idea too. Oh yes, the Beetlejuice. It would be fun if we had mini Beetlejuices. But another thing I want to show you while we're making this pumpkin is that you can start creating some of your own miniatures to go along with some of the collections we have. And see how that goes. Maybe I just want, I'm going to cut a smaller square, and I could just put a smaller square on here and kind of turn that into a table if I wanted to. I could turn it just as like a little stand. And then again, if you want to use fabric inside of your pumpkin, you can also use fabric to kind of give you these different layers. So instead of painting that box, you can kind of put some fabric in, and then you'll be able to have something on this top platform, and you can have something in front. So maybe you have a chair down here, and you just have some more room to play with. One thing I do want to show you, like I was saying, is that you can start making some of your own. So I took some air dry clay and I rolled it around and put it onto my finger like this to make a cute little ghost. So this is what it looks like after it dried. And then I went ahead and put some Sharpie on it. So maybe this ghost is just hanging out in the seam too. So you can start making some of your own minis. When I found the wolf, I had accidentally dropped the wolf and I broke it. And so I made him an extra leg out of air dry clay. I just added a leg on here. And I bet you probably wouldn't have been able to tell that had I not told you. So you can always have your wolf in there and he has all of his legs. So you can decide if you want maybe walls to be one color and you want the floor to be maybe the fabric color or something else. You can use paper like we did last time or in any way like that. I'm going to go ahead and get myself situated with my levels. And I am going to kind of secure them before I go any further. So I'm going to put some hot glue onto the bottom of this. And I'm going to attach it to my pumpkin. I'm going to leave the background white. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the front part yet. So I just put that little paper towel part in there. And then if I can kind of go along the top as well. And give myself a platform. All right. Now, because I'm going to go with some witchy vibes, I am going to use some polyfill. So the polyfill gives it a little bit of a different look than the spiderweb does. But I'm going to use this polyfill to kind of cover up my platform and kind of give it like, ooh, mystical vibes. And cover up that platform. And then let's see, if this is kind of my main focus, I might want her to be here. And then I might want some other things to be hanging to kind of give her some more vibes to go with that. So I'm not quite sure. Yes, cotton balls would be another good idea for sure, that to give you that same kind of ethereal vibe. Let's see, what else do I want to add? I could give her like a fortune teller table. I could put her up higher. I'm not sure yet. I'm just kind of playing around with this. If you have other ideas, you could drape the material over your table platform. That is a great idea. So maybe I'll move the polyfill and I'll take my little bit of fabric and kind of drape it over the table. And I like to play around a lot and kind of give myself some different ideas and then start gluing things down. Tombstones is a great idea for sure. I like this and I love this kind of fortune teller with that black and white stripe. I think that's fun. And I can have one of these chairs in here. I don't know, maybe the White Witch kind of is like creepily off to the side or something, kind of giving us that vibe. Maybe the wolf is hiding in here as well. You just never know. You can also put things on the top of your pumpkin, so don't be afraid to do that. I love these little stools that look like they're made out of feet. I think that's really funny and very cute too. Might give me another platform for her to be on. And I'm just playing, obviously, and having a really good time, just kind of coming up with some different ideas. I'm going to start committing. Here we go. I'm going to maybe make another level. So it's taking this piece I already put, I do happen to have tape nearby too. So that would probably be a good idea, especially so it's not permanent yet with any glue. But I'm going to kind of tape this and I'm going to give myself another layer, another level, because I really think I want to put her very high up in this pumpkin. So I'm making like another step, another level. Only there is small, clear pop apart ornaments. Yes, right? So you can make your own ornaments, and those ornaments are coming to the stores like now. So that you could put one of these scenes into an ornament and then put it different places or hang it from your Halloween tree. If anyone is lucky enough to have a Halloween tree, that would be amazing. Okay. Love it. I'm going to fill with polyfill. fireplace, yes. Maybe the fireplace will be here. And then she will be way above the fireplace. I like that idea too. I love that you're playing along with me. Thank you for those of you who have joined me live, that you can kind of give me some ideas and some inspiration as we go and make this up together. This is looking very spooky. And then here she is, the star of our show. Oh, she's way up there. Let's see if I'm going to put her here and take a step back and see if I can see her. I think we will be able to see her okay. Well, I got a glue on there. I can't wait to see what other kind of designs y'all are coming up with. Make sure you check out my Instagram, which is 4M Coleman, and you can see some of my other dioramas that I've done with some of these tools that you've seen. Oh my gosh, she's so creepy up there. I love it. Okay. And a lot of this is just playing around with everyday objects that you happen to have and putting them into different ways. Oh, I love that she's very subtle and you almost miss her in this mist because I want her to be hiding. Let's see if you can see her. Do you see her up there? I love it. And I do think I'm going to go for this fireplace. And then I might have something hanging too. So let me show you with the drill again. She sees all. She knows what you're doing. Let me go ahead with this drill. And I'm going to drill at the top of this. Make this a little bit so you can see better. And this hand drill is just really great. You literally just twist it and it goes through the pumpkin very easily. I don't have any paper on the top right now, so there's nothing else stopping it. And I can make this hole a little wider if I want to be easier on myself when I'm putting wire through later. And I'm going to pick something, oh my goodness, like maybe this. I'm going to put a little wire on it. I'm going to hang it. I love that. So I'm going to take a little piece of brown wire, but if you have the clear wire, that will be even better. But I'm going to use the brown so that you can see it. You should see my desk. It is full of miniatures and fun things. I love it. Here's a little piece of wire. And I'm going to wrap this wire around this little cloche. Speaking of a cloche. And I'm going to twist that wire nice and close to that little top. And then I have these wires to go through that hole to hang them. And this is going to be even spookier, hanging off in the distance. I need to tip this so I can see. There we go. Oh my gosh, that's fun. It really looks like it's just in the clouds, which is very fun. Love it. Love it. Look at that. So with just 3 pieces of miniatures and some polyfill, we were able to come up with a really cool brand new look with this floating cloche. I could also have, I know I have a broom and different things too. So if I wanted to kind of have a little broom effect, maybe I could hang another broom over here, kind of hanging, but I don't want to detract from my white witch. So I think I'm going to leave it right there. You can always put something on the outside. So you probably can't even see this wire right here. So most people won't notice, but if you want to, you can hide it by, you can hide it by painting some orange over top of it. If you want, and you know your fireplace is going to stay there, then you should glue it down, because otherwise you're going to have the problem you just saw me have, where when I start to move it around, I kind of like this witch's broom. I'm going to go ahead and attach this to the outside of my pumpkin right here, because I think that's a cool touch. Love it. Love it. Well, this is my spooky diorama with that white witch hiding up there in the mist. So I hope that you enjoyed this class and had fun. I want to see if you make your own skeleton bathtub, or if you make your own version. Maybe you make something even witchier or something cute and fall-like, some fairies. I want to see what you're making. So make sure you share with us at Learn with Michaels, tag us, and I can't wait to see you again. Bye, everybody. Have a good week.